Hello. Thanks for joining in, as always. Appreciate it all the time. It's always the same wonderful people. What's Torbjörn? Hope everything's going well. How's the dojo? Can't wait to get back over. What's Rochelle? Got your message. As far as it goes, I know that everything is 100%. So there's nothing to worry about. They're just taking their time a little bit with the paperwork. But all's go ahead 100%. I do need to speak to you about the logbooks as soon as possible, though. Everything's good there too. Just need to finalize something with you. What's Leo? Midnight. Damn. Wow. Paul Kniep. What's good to see you in Leipzig. Damien. What's good to see you. Marco, how are you? Hope you're enjoying the book, Marco. Rochelle, again, thanks. Yeah, good. And Patty. Hey, I love that interview with Trevor Field. You know, he's one of my heroes. He was, when I was a little kid, he used to drive all the way down from Mackay. I used to, couldn't believe it. And for those who don't know, the drive from Mackay to the Gold Coast is, I don't know, maybe 2,000 kilometers. So that's, what, 1,200 miles? And he used to drive down on Friday night and train all weekend and then drive back Sunday. Can you believe that? Us, Mike, Marco, and Trevor, you know, I mean, he spent a lot of time talking about his activities in the AKKA and everything, but I think I would have loved to have heard more about him personally because, you know, he was an Australian champion dog breeder, an Australian champion power lifter, an Australian champion skin diver. I mean, this guy was amazing. And I did my showdown grading, Paddy. I did my 40 pounds at the Mackay Dojo with all those guys, Brad Madden, Brad Hansen, that nobody hears about much, but he was one of the best, man. He lives in America now, Brad Hansen. Wayne Hinchin, Mick Young was one of my major rivals all through my career. In fact, I still have see that little scar? That's a Mike Young sidekick at the Opera House in 1983. He's thrown the kick, 100% under control. I've got this. I just leaned back and the kick just kept coming, boom, 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 and it put my teeth through my lip. And I had a beard at the time, and like everything was okay because of the beard. And then, you know, 30 seconds later, moving around, it's like the blood starts to come out of the beard like this. But anyway, Mick was just unbelievable. And, you know, Trevor really was, you know, out of Frank's dojo and then up in North Queensland. So he had South Queensland and North Queensland. For a while there, we were really dominating the national tournaments. I mean, Trev really was something special. The guys that he produced up there was Harry. So maybe you could do another one with him because I'd tune in a heartbeat. He's, you know, a lovely guy and like he said, boy, oh boy. So, and he mentioned Wayne Hinch, and I'm heading up to train with Wayne as soon as I can because my nephew Christian, who comes on here sometimes, is up in North Queensland. He's been stationed up there with work, and he trains with Wayne Hinch. But anyway, I hope everyone's well. Thank you, Patreon, again. Gosh, it makes a difference, and I'm really, really grateful. And I'm just putting together a mail out for Patreon at the moment. It's just an idea, and in some respects, I wanted to discuss it today too with everybody, not just Patreon. But I'm having thoughts. I'm just trying to find a place to put the clock because my new teaching methodologies and so on. And, you know, and I was always very much in the mindset of the 2 to 2.5 hours. You do your fitness, you do your basics, you do the moving, the kihon, the ido kihon, the kata, the kumite, and the fitness, and da-da-da. And I'm just wondering if there is a better way, a way that is more focused on skill acquisition, but allowing people to get fit. So you've got to address all three things. And, you know, Mike Clark's book, Shingi Tai, you can't deny one because it's like 3 legs on a stool. You take one leg away and it falls over. And if you don't want it to fall over, you spend an awful lot of time bracing just to balance on it rather than have the 3 legs. So you need the shin, you know, you need the gi, you need the tai. And then the tai is the physical stuff. Well, I tend to think a lot of the time we spend too much time in the dojo working on fitness. Okay. Was specters of the Spectres OV. I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure to address you, but it's going to be hard to say. Thank you, the Spectres of. But anyway, thank you. I think it's important to address all three, but we spend an awful lot of time on the fitness work that could be done anywhere, anytime, by anyone. Okay, so people come to the dojo there for 2 hours. If you spend half an hour or an hour on fitness stuff, well, that can be sorted out elsewhere. The technique stuff is the real key. How do we acquire skills in an optimal amount of time? And the shin, the mind, well, that comes with everything else that you do. And there's various aspects which Mike Clark has addressed in his book. There's the mental side, the shin, is not just willpower. It's willpower, it's courage, it's enthusiasm, it's consideration for others, it's awareness of others. And all these things have to be included. And that can come, first of all, through deep concentration in what you're doing. Secondly, through hard kumite, which gives you the courage that you're seeking all the time. And so I think what I'm looking at right now, and I've just got pages and pages. Look, I'll just show you. There's pages and pages of stuff that I've been writing just today. I just took down a couple of notes for today's session, and I've ended up writing a tome on this. Is all about teaching methodology and so on. And I'm actually almost to the point where what I'm doing is, I know there are certain aspects which should be included all the time, aspects of Kihon. Well, then how do you rotate that? And then skill acquisition. What is the best way to add skill? And which skills do you need to add? What are the priority we need to add them at? You can get someone that trains really, really hard for months and years, but if the priority that they place on certain skills is wrong, well, then they get nowhere fast. They get fit and they know a lot about something, but that something they know about is really not very practical in real world situation, whether real world tournaments or kata or whatever. So I'm really playing around now with the right teaching methodology. I'm really interested to hear if people have any viewpoints on that. But right now, I'm working on the idea of, as you know, I work 5 ranges, so I have to consider all ranges. Quarterly, so 3 months. There's 13 weeks in 3 months. And right now where I'm heading is I take 12 weeks and I take 3 stand-up skills and 3 inner range. So 3 long range skills, 3 close range skills. And I work them 1 close range, 1 long range skill per week. All right. And then I'll work on a skill. Then the next week I'll work another skill. Next week, work another skill. Then come back to the first one. And I think that period, from my experience, if you just saturate with 1 skill, you don't get the same level of absorption if you have 3 skills and then you rotate them. So you come back, you give yourself a little bit of time and space for it to process. You come back but a few weeks later and you keep leapfrogging like that. Now that's on you have a body of training which happens every time. Okay, and variations of that happen every time. So when I say skill acquisition, let's say you're working on a new footwork skill. Footwork, split off, left, high kick, 1, 2, 3, combination roundhouse kick. That can be that particular stand-up skill that you want for that week. Well, you work on it, but it's just 1 skill amongst a lot of other training as well. So anyway, this is something I'm really, really keen on. Today, look, I'm really beat up too. You ever tore a big toenail off? I tore my big toenail off at training last Wednesday. I was wrestling with one of the young lads, one of the black belts, and he's done something to me. He swept me, and I've gone over, and to counter that, I've done what they call a big step backwards. And hi, Sal. And Al Bellamy was there. You were there on Wednesday, weren't you? It just seemed so innocuous. There was nothing there. And then after the roll, we sit up and there's a pool of blood around. And I looked down and I'd torn my big toenail was just hanging on by a shred of skin. So I've got a sore toenail, and that big step back to counter the sweep that Dane did, I really totally gave myself like a big stone bruise on my heel. Yeah, no, it was all gone. I ended up coming home and snipping the nail off, and now I've got no toenail. It was a bit tender. But anyway, I'm just whining at the moment. Is that okay if I whine? Oh, man. It's like, I forget who it was. One of the great Browning, I think, said he never knew a sparrow feeling sorry for itself, even as the sparrow falls out of its nest freezing in the middle of winter. Only humans feel sorry for themselves. Super glue it, yeah, I know, I've heard that too, but I've just got rid of the toenail. I'll let it grow back again. Okay, so today I want to look at a couple of things. I want to look at, first of all, the possibility of which skills, yeah, exactly, whining like a pom. Well, even poms don't whine. I mean, there's, I think the whinging pom thing, and the only reason you can say that is because you're a pom. I think the whinging pom thing is what happens when they come all the way to Australia and then realise it's not quite the utopia that they thought it was going to be. Hey, Chris, you were just talking about Wayne Hinchin. Did you see the interview with Trevor Field on Kyokushin Shuffle the other day? And Trevor mentions Wayne Hinchin a fair bit. It was my left foot. Why, Chris? You're going to stomp her next time we spar, eh? So I just wanted to look at, first of all, yeah, they do take a while. I want to look at some possibilities of what to include in standard training. I might do a few Mai Kyages again, just nice and easy, because my heels are, one heel's bruised, one instep steps damaged. But I also like the idea of keeping going with a fundamental Marco, I could imagine. My God, I've got friends in South Australia, and yeah, say no more. I like to add no, it's not my accelerator foot. Not that it accelerates too fast these days, Chrissy. I want to work on just a couple of drills. Us Clarence from South Africa, good to see you, man. Just a fundamental drill which we spoke about last time is the tricep push drill. It's a sit-up drill from the prawn. I want to add, if you can add that one drill, and anyone who's been to a seminar with me will get an idea of it. But I just like the idea of adding it as a single drill, and then I want to do some more, maybe Mai Kyages, a few Mai Kyages. But I also want to look at the principles behind the uke waza, the Kihon basics uke waza. Now, Solsai, Kenneth, good to see you. Solsai often said that he'll just keep repeating what he keeps repeating until he doesn't have to repeat it again. And it's the same. I think it's really important, because if you get the basics, well, then you get the basics. But until you get them, I'm just always amazed when I travel and see the standard, the range of technique from really good to really poor. And the ones who are doing it really poor, it's not their fault. It's just the way they've been taught, Is this sound okay, by the way? I haven't got my normal mic with me, so the sound may not be as clear. I might give my wife a call and ask her to see if she can drop it down, actually. But anyway, look, I'll keep going through. Where are we? I won't worry about the mic. If you can hear them, okay, if it sounds good, then I won't worry about it. That's good. All right, so I'll start off with a little bit of a stretch, some Mai Kyages, and then I just want to show you a few drills, and then move on to Clara, setting up the clock here. The fundamental principles behind what's going on? My whole world's falling apart. Where are we? Here we go. There we go. I'm good now. So I just need that clock there. Bit of a warm-up. I just like the 3-count exercise warm-up. That's an exercise you can do in just a few minutes every day that will maintain lower spine strength and flexibility, as well as hip and knee integrity. And then we'll move on a few myalgias, and then a couple of drills, drill principles, and then move on from there into the basics. I'm going to move this down so you can see okay. That should be fine, I think, but I can always change it. Whoosh, creaky knees. Yes, sir. Whoosh. It's she not dates. She's got it. She. I remember nice deep squat like that too is really good for the spine, lower back, and body. Helps lower spine area nice and supple. Then the right leg. Wow, that hurts, eh? On my heel. Now I have to cut that one short. I can hardly do it on my heel. Hip flexor. Remember, grab a stretch. So the G is make sure your gaze is correct to allow the alignment to line up, but also let gravity, the G is for gravity, let gravity do the work. Just relax and don't fight the gravity. And let gravity do it. And you'll find if you breathe, concentrate on your breathing, like an ibuki with your mouth closed. When you close your mouth, same thing. The internals are exactly the same shape as ibuki, but with your mouth closed. When you do that, after about 3 or 4, you'll feel a release. That's what you're looking for each time you get off that heel. See? So here too, just let gravity do the work. See? You're strong, you don't need to put your knee down. Hip flexors. It was so foggy here this morning, I looked out the window, couldn't see the house next door. How about that? Sun, once again. Shoulders in. Go boomy. Where's Okay, let's do a few myalgias. I'm just going to stretch out a few myalgias to loosen up a bit. Daniel, good to see you, man. Thanks for coming anyway. Busy day ahead for you. Okay, so I'm just going to do a few myalgias. Remember the rhythm. that we use. I'm going to be careful too because my instep's torn. So, left one, right, left, right, left, right. So I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. One bad knee, but no balance. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Three, 4. I'm not even counting them, really. 1, 2. Just do a few. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. That'll do. I wasn't really counting. I think that was about 60 or so. Anyway, just enough. Boss, thank you. Like I said, I'm not 100% sure who the spectres of or the spectres of is, but I appreciate you coming along. Yes, fair question. The reason I go to Shikodachi is because the alignment of Shikodachi on the knee is far more protective than in Kibodachi. If you think about it, Kibodachi, as you go low, it puts a lot of pressure on the outside of the knee, and I have a bad right knee, so I can hardly do it. What happens is I get to a certain point, I can't do it. But if you turn the feet out, now the knee is aligned with the legs properly. So you can go right down in that without putting pressure on the knee laterally. Plus, I use that, it's called Shikobumi or Shiko stretch, which is the sumo wrestlers. And you know the sumo wrestlers would never do a Kibodachi. They couldn't do it, their knees would collapse because they weigh so much. But they can go really deep with the Shikodachi by turning the toes out. So I think it's one of those things. I was talking to someone recently at training where they said they're starting to get a little, I had a phone call, a buddy of mine, starting to get a little on. They're 50 now. And I've always spoken to him about the need to change the kata slightly to compensate for age, because certain techniques, certain stances are impossibly unhealthy for people with older knees. So I'm in the process now of changing all the kata. Yeah, not to worry. I'm in the process of changing all the kata. I mean, Shikodachi is just as legitimate as Kibodachi. I think Kibodachi actually, I like Kibodachi in certain situations. For example, in Pinan 3, when you step through and you do that movement there, I think it's important to have Kibodachi in that. I'll tell you why. In Shikodachi, the bunkai application can put your knee in a little bit of danger. But in Kibodachi, actually, even if you did the technique, and I'm talking about the one where you come down the middle in Pinan 3, here like this, you come down there. Well, if you don't go into Kibodachi there, if you stick to Shikodachi, you'll twist your knee. See that? With that strong process, and especially when you do the bunkai in terms of what I'm doing is I'm using the front kick to develop momentum. This hand wraps around the head, captures the head, and throws. That's what that movement is, one application in the close range stand-up grapple. If I try to do it in shikodachi, I'll twist my knee, and especially if there's a body falling over it, I'm bound to damage my knee. So by having kibachi, what allows you is that as the body hits your knee can turn quite naturally and safely. So that's realistically, there's only one fighting stance in there. There's just the fighting stance that you use when you fight. But all the other stances that we work are transitional stances that stance may or may not transition through at some stage. So we need to learn the stances in that respect. Well, there you go. As you get older, so for example, I can do Zenkutsu to the left quite okay. Yeah, but if I try to go, see that, I have to do this sort of thing with my body. I can go here, there, I'm comfortable. Good. Now if I try to push off, I have no knee, so I've got to go like this, and I can't lengthen it. So for the sake of people who are getting older, for example, Taikyoku 1, you might actually literally turn and do it in Sanshin. Okay, and then Sanshin again, and then here, Sanshin, there, and then I'm in the process of adapting all the kata and changing the length of the stances. Thanks, Mike. Yep. All right, so I want to look at this particular technique we call the tricep push. Thanks for coming, Mike. The tricep push is a really valid, important principle that stand-up fighters need. Excuse me. Got a peanut down the throat. The tricep push is a really important defensive that stand-up fighters need once they make the transition to all 5 ranges. And at the end of the day, the more I think about it, the more I realize that as Kyokushin fighters, we have a body of knowledge we need to protect, but we also need to recognize that outside of tournaments, there's a whole world. Tournaments are like the tip of the iceberg, and underneath the iceberg, you got all of that. So we need to address this. And to a degree, it's found in kata. I tend not to go along with the standard line that it's all in the kata. I don't believe it's all in the kata. There's an awful lot in the kata, but it's not all in the kata. And if it was, not many people can actually apply it in a real life situation against a non-compliant opponent. So we have to add a different range of basics with us. And the one I want to show you today, we just simply call the tricep push and the tricep and the safe stand-up. So basically what it is really is, I'll just drop this down a little bit. So this is something you can do alone, but it's also good to do with a partner. So it can come off a hip movement, keep my hands tight. So the number one goal is to keep the elbows arrow guided to the body like a T-Rex. Boom. It's a little bit like karate. When you do your karate, you don't want to be up here with your elbows out. The whole idea is to create as little space as possible between the hip bone and the elbow. So you have to pull the elbows in and forward. Well, there's no reason to change what you're doing on the ground from what you're doing stand-up. So the same principle is on the ground. Look, my elbows stay tight to my body. You don't go, okay, well, I do certain things at stand-up. Now I'm going to the ground, I'll abandon all that and I'll do something different. There's a whole bunch of things you can do in stand-up that you should be doing on the ground as well, because fundamentally there's no difference in what they're trying to do to you. They're still trying to punch you or kick you or grab or etc. So on the ground, get that elbow stuck to the body, get this one stuck to the body. I have my Enkei Gyatsuki shoulder, my Stomochi Uke shoulder right here on my jaw. And if you want, the big difference is you don't want people to get anything under the head. So under certain circumstances, you push your head into the ground. But we work on the idea of this hip movement. See that? From the front, you watch. I actually take my head closer. but my butt moves away. So if there's something here, I'm moving my butt out. I come back, switch feet, there. So I almost want to try and reach down to my toes. Notice my shoulder is off the ground, my back is off the ground. The primary key to the drill is to get used to never being on your back. The only time you're on the back is when you're forced to be on the back. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Another thing you can do is just like your hands come underneath someone, you're going to scoop them over your head. Now they're lying across you, so you're pushing them and moving hip away. Scoop over the head. Again, the bottom leg goes dead for now. There's no reason why you can't use two legs under certain circumstances. Here, push. See my butt? I get a nice flare with my butt. And then back again. Push, back again. Push, back again. Okay, push, back again. Now, I want to add that to, I think, what we did last week, which is like the just trying to improve the lighting. Actually, maybe if I turn the lights on, that'll help. We want to try to work on the concept of timing the push to alleviate pressure. Now, unlike similar to karate, if you're a sort of fighter who can pressure, and shut the pressure down so that the opponent is preoccupied with trying to create space, beautiful. So the attacker is always trying to kill space. The defender is always trying to create space. Okay, well, it's the same on the ground. Same principle again. We want to stick to the principles of stand-up on the ground. So on the ground, if I'm defending, I'm constantly trying to create space, making it difficult for them to create or to kill your space. By creating space, I don't mean you have to push them off. That's worse. What you're doing is making it difficult for them to find, avoid, and fill it. Maybe Tesla is one of the Danaher Death Squad boys who came and did a seminar for us at the dojo, and we learned so much from it. And his simple words were, create a void, fill it. From the defensive viewpoint is, do everything you can to not allow them to create that void and fill it. So there's certain things you connect. You're here, my elbow and knee are connected. My elbow is just like I'm fighting stand-up on my wrist. And what I'm going to do is imagine that somebody is putting pressure on me, head, shoulders, arm, and I'm coming behind their arm and I'm doing that hip motion and pushing up, up. Now the thing I'm going to turn right around so you can see, but I want you to watch my left hand. That's the key that a lot of people forget. So I'm here, the pressure's coming on. I time it, and as soon as I can see or feel their tricep, I'm going to extend that above, up, and watch this hand. 1, 2. So now I have leverage by 2 straight arms. Okay? The thing about this is I don't want to do it here. If my hand is here, it's vulnerable to arm bars. Okay? Plus, it's very hard to get leverage to push myself up there. It's not strong enough, particularly when they're falling, pushing back down. I need the arm back here. So I'm here, I'm coming up, I'm waiting, pressure. You practice this with your partner, you'll get it so fast. I'm looking for a tricep. As the arm comes over, their top side arm. So I'm pushing their left arm with my right arm. I go here, look, push up, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. I get the guys to do that in the dojo. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Now I combine that with the push. Here, push 1, 2. See that? That's the feeling. Now I go the other way. I'll do it straight so you can see. We go the other way. Push 1, 2. Push 1, 2. Push 1, 2. Push 1, 2. Come behind the arm. I don't push over. They go that way, but I don't push that way. I push above my head and up like that. That's where I want to go, like on shot putting. Okay? Push 1, 2. Back down, push 1, 2. Back down, push 1, 2. Back, push 1, 2. Now, you can do this as part of the warm-up in the dojo. You get someone lying down and you ask somebody to come and put pressure. And all I'm doing is looking for the tricep. You can start off with 2 hands if you want. I have to all the time because I'm not as strong as young fellas. Use 2 hands here, look. 2 hands on the tricep. Roll. Keep the momentum going. And then when I'm past the center line, I unwind and come up on the back hand supporting. Back, 2 hands pushes the tricep, up and push. Back, 2, 1, back, 2, 1, back, 2, 1, back, 2, 1. Now every now and then, if they're strong, big and heavy, you may get to this point where they're lying on you, so it's hard to sit up. You keep the movement going, but now you move your hips out of the way. And you get, so they're still there where they were, you're just pushing their arm and they're, what's going on? Okay, so that's the second stage of the drill. 1, 2, get to here now, and I take my hips back, get them out. Again, here they come, pushing, 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 bang, I'm stuck, I'm underneath them. I push, escape my legs, and come away. And that's that safe stand-up we talked about. I'm going to lean back here, look. Weight on my left leg. I work on arcs across the body. Left foot, right hand. Everything else is off the ground. See that? Left foot, right hand. Connection here to create a wall in case they want to kick you or punch you. I'm just here like this, hide my jaw and neck behind my shoulder. Up, down. From there, stand, kick backwards. Okay, we'll do that again. I'm here. I step back. 1. See, I've already got this strength here in case they try to push me over. Last place I want to be is lying on the ground, someone standing up over me. Here, elevate, and I'm going to kick that foot back and move backwards out of range. Okay, now we combine that with the tricep push. I'm here. Am I on my back? Never. The only time you're on the back is when someone forces you to be on your back. And the goal then is to get off the back as quick as possible. One of the simplest things that anyone can ever learn with grappling is get off your back. We call it oi boys. Oi boys. Oi boys. O-Y-B-O-Y-S. Off your back, on your side. Okay, so whenever someone gets close, I get to my side. My elbows are in, like, see, my stance is unchanged from my stand-up stance. There. As they encroach to try and fill that void, I get behind the tricep. I keep their energy going across my body, twist my hips, and as I push the tricep, I elbow, hand up, and then step back out of range. Once again, so I'm here. This time they're on that side. As they encroach on my space, try to put pressure on me, I keep my hands as I would when I'm sparring. You know, you don't shape up in sparring and then all of a sudden when they get close, drop your hands and try something else. Keep your hands integrated. As they come in, close, tight, and push. 1, 2, and extend. I don't want to stay short. If my arm is bent, it's weak. We call this Archimedes over Newton. A bent arm is Newton. A bent arm is mechanical energy. How much energy can I generate from my muscles? The straight arm is Archimedes. It's a lever because I've created a long, straight arm using my bones. And if I push and he's there and I can't get my arm straight, then I move my body back to straighten the arm. Okay? And then from there, I can sit up. All right? 1 here.
Circle around. 2, 3. Get the tricep. Once I've got that tricep, I'm going to push it up as I come up on my backhand. So again, 1, 2. There's the tricep. They're putting pressure on me. Just when I think they've got the pressure, bang! I've got the tricep in my hand. I'm going to elbow hand. 1, 2, and I push. See, that's the shape I have. One straight arm here, one straight arm there. That creates a strong, strong lever. It's very hard for them to break that. The only way they'll break it is they'll try to get their arm around one way or another. Because it's right behind here, they can't even reach with their other hand. Okay? And then what happens is quite often they'll clear that arm and they'll come back around. You simply do it again to the other arm. So as they clear that arm, they drop their weight around. Even as they're fighting to clear that arm, you go back and you just continue the movement with the other arm. Now, obviously, if this guy's persisting, boom, you come up, you're just going to clear your legs and go. Or I teach the kids to never disengage. You clear the legs, but you keep engaged. You come forward and drive in, just as we were doing on Wednesday. Was it Wednesday? Yeah, down the dojo. So that's a really, really good drill that you can add as part of your warm-up. So you can be doing stretching, bang, do your stretching, tricep push. So they come to here and they rock to here. Boom, up, there, back, there, back, there. I'll do it sideways. You can see my arm, back, there. This arm is key, back, there. Notice I'm not going and pushing this way. I'm actually pushing up there. But when I push up, it ends up there. That's all. I don't want to consciously push there. I want to consciously push up and away because that's where their energy is going. It's like a shot put motion. The reason they do shot put like that is if it was more efficient to do it some other way, they would. But it's not. So what you do is you come tricep up. See that? You can do it if guys understand tricep shot put. And I started at the shot put position. Boom, and shot put up. Boom, shot put up. Boom. You incorporate that as part of your warm-up, and then you do doubles. By that I mean I pushed, but he's escaped the arm. He's coming back now. I simply switch arms and go the other way. So now I'm going 1, straight back 2. And then back 1, straight back 2. Then back 1, straight back 2. Back 1, straight back 2. Okay? So that's a really, really good drill that is very easy to incorporate in your karate training warm-up. Yes, great stuff. Frederick, the animals, the different animal forms. We do monkey, 1, 2, 3, 4, bear, duck, rabbit, crocodile, beach whale. They love the beach whale. Half of these names we'll make up ourselves. There's a whole range of them. In fact, there's a guy, I know there's a link to a guy. I'll see if I can find it for next time. What did you think of those drills? I think that particular drill is so effective. And, you know, the yardstick is we get kids will come into the dojo, and that's one of the first things I'll teach them. And I'll really drill that for a large portion of the first session that they do. We'll go from the warm-up and then we'll continue that in the skill session. And then what happens is, even after that, if they just do a normal roll or spar, I mean, you can even do it in sparring too, because one of my students, Wally Schnauber, used to do exactly this in tournament fighting, would you believe? Kyokushin tournament fighting, what he would do is this. He'd be sparring away, and then he understood, we'd worked on the principle of the tricep push, but you're not allowed to do that in tournaments. So what he'd do is he'd punch the back of the tricep, and he'd get his punch in, and he'd punch the tricep. And the more he punched it, the more their arm would turn around. Boom, boom, boom. And he'd do that, and they're facing that way, and then he'd start to work underneath and then bring the roundhouse kick up into the face. So you can do it in stand-up too. The other thing that is a takeaway for you today that is really important is don't change your shape from stand-up to the ground.
stand up. Everything is inside. I'm blocking. Okay, you don't open up like this when you stand up. So why would you do it on the ground? So stand up here, boom. You go to the ground now, and it's the same thing. My elbows are there. I'm moving and I'm maintaining control of the inside space. It's also used to call that superior air superiority. Okay, you want to own the airspace, air superiority, and then it allows you to move with optimal leverage because your whole body works as a single unit. Any questions, let me know. If you haven't hit like, please do so. It's not going to kill you. And it really helps me because I have $0 marketing budget. And if everybody who comes along shared it with just 5 people and asked them to share it with 5 people, I have no doubt that in no time we'd be really doing well. But for some reason, some people come along and they don't want people to know they're actually watching the videos. Or, oh, Smack, good to see you, man. Anthony, good to see you. Yeah, they do. Oh, by the way, Anthony, look, I'm glad you said that. What's Bill? No worries. Stay safe. Anthony, I'm glad you said that. Oh, man, this tricep push, if you run a kids class, this is so much fun because what I do at the end of the class is I'll say to them, okay, everybody line up. We're going for a tricep ride. And they'll go, yay. And then what happens is I lie down. I've moved that, haven't I? I'm glad you said that, Ant. I'll lie down, and one at a time, the kids will come, and they'll try and put all their weight on. And the next thing you know, because there's no head-on interruption of any, they're going like this, and because you get behind the tricep, you simply help them along. They go, boom, 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 roll off, and another one comes along, go, boom, 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 and one at a time, you're just going, boom, with the kids, boom, and they're giggling, and they laugh, and they love it, but it teaches them how effective that is. And then you watch them later on when they're rolling around and wrestling with each other. They're all going, whoa, these tricep pushes. I guarantee, I cross my heart, this is one of the most profoundly high percentage techniques that all karate people should learn almost from day one when they start to incorporate the close-in ranges and ground ranges in their training. And if you're not doing that, you're not really getting there. You know, Solsai was very adamant that you have to include all the ranges. That's why he spent so long working on his grappling skills. And as we mentioned with John Blooming last week, you know, John Blooming left because he felt that the direction Kyokushin was going was not to his liking. That's because he's a judo guy. He's a judo guy with some karate. He wasn't a karate guy with a little bit of grappling. He was a premier world-class grappler, world-class judo guy. I mean, he beat people like Inakuma Isao and some of the great names of judo in his era. He was a flatmate to Don Drager. Don Drager, they say, was probably, even though he's known as a writer, he was probably one of the best groundwork experts at Kodokan in his era. There weren't many, if anyone, no one could beat him on the ground. And so John Blooming was very strongly influenced. So he was primarily a grappler who added karate on. So this is why when Kyokushin went to the tournaments and stopped doing the grabbing and throwing, well, he didn't like that. So he continued that on in his own little world. Now, having said that, I think it's a good time, especially if you're over 50, you're not fighting anymore, you're looking for an extension to your training. Oh, man, just yesterday, my wife and I went down to a couple of shops at Southport, and I saw this fella sitting there. He had the Australian Boxing Federation, Wally Lewis, and I knew the name because having been involved with Tyrone and a couple of other boxers, that name, he was a referee. And I went and had a word with him. I said, oh, hello, Mr. Lewis, you don't know me, but I used to train with Tyrone Cyclone Tongi. He says, I know that name. And I told him about it. I said, and Ronnie, yeah, he mentioned a couple. But anyway, I asked him how he was going. And he goes, oh, I'm feeling all right. He was 85 years old. And he says he still gets down to the gym. He doesn't spar anymore because he doesn't have the reaction time. But he still hits the bag and he still hits the speed ball. You can imagine that it wouldn't be anywhere near. The point is he's 85 and he's still solidly active. What I would say with karate is it gives your body a much stronger, better lower half. Japanese martial arts, primarily the thing that separates them from other martial arts is the way they train the lower body. Okay, so here he was at 85, and you can see his movement. He had a real good feel, but when I saw him walking to the car later, he was very fragile on his legs. Well, then you look at some of the old Okinawan masters at that age, because their training includes the hips and the legs, they have a strong lower body as well. I think that's really beautiful. Ivan Zavachanos always using a judo coach, also how he got to know Don Draga eventually. Well, would you believe New Zealand suicide? Is that Tigray? But anyway, when I first went to Japan in 76, Ivan Zavachanos was still the head of the South Pacific Kyokushin. He was the head of South Pacific Kyokushin. AKKA and John Taylor really didn't get going until 77, because it was 1977 that Masayama came out to Australia. They had a meeting, and the black belts, the dojo operators, yes, I thought it was Tigray. I love that name. I don't believe that's your real name either, Tigray Azteca. It's too cool. It's like the masked wrestler from Mexico. But anyway, Ivan Zavachanos. I met Ivan Zavachanos in 1976 in Japan. So I met him along with Ashihara, Shigeru Oyama, Yasuhiko Oyama, Yuki Miura, Bobby Lowe, Peter Chong, Ivan Zavachanos, Luke Hollander. All these guys were there for the 8th All Japan Championship. And it was only after that Ivan Zavachanos, probably a little bit of Machiavellian business going on, he got removed out, and John Taylor started the AKKA, which Trevor Field talked about very glowingly in his thing. AKKA then became a very strong, solid group. Trevor talked about us being ranked 6th in the world at one stage. I remember when we fought in the Paris-Bercy teams event, the South Pacific team came 3rd in the world behind Japan A and Brazil A. We actually beat Japan B and I think Brazil B on our way through to come 3rd. I think we beat Japan B in the semi-final to make 3rd place. So we were pretty strong back then. But anyway, look, I'll leave it there, folks. I hope you got something out of it. Please, if you got any questions about that tricep push, I'm going to make a video of it with 2-man so that you have that in your repertoire. Please try and add it in. Also, if you want some animal movements for your children's class, let me know. I'd be more than happy to share some great animal movements as we do them in the dojo. In fact, I'll take a camera along and video the class doing the animals. We always finish off with the animals. The kids love it. Sometimes the kids will go, when are we doing the animals? You know, the animal forms is a great way to get the fitness, and it's enjoyable as well. So thank you very much, everybody. Really appreciate your time. Arigato gozaimashita, Paul. Good to see you, man. I hope Redcliffe is good. Thank you, everybody. I look forward to seeing you Friday. Marco. See you Friday for another reading. I'm so excited about the book. We're now waiting back for quote responses from the new printers. As I mentioned, we lost the printer. So we're waiting for printers to get back to us and let us know what we can do. Thanks, pal. Frederick. Thank you. Alan Lloyd, thanks. Harry, Mac. Good to see you, man. Hope all's well. It was the name that I texted to you, yes. Damien. Thanks, everyone. Really appreciate it. See ya.